The Mohammedan Negro has felt nothing of the withering power of caste. There is nothing in his color or race to debar him from the highest privileges, social or political, to which any other Muslim can attain. Edward W. Blyden, Liberian writer, and thinker. According to Arab oral tradition, Islam first came to Africa with Muslim refugees fleeing persecution in the Arab Peninsula. This was followed by a military invasion, some 7 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 639, under the command of the Muslim Arab general, Amr ibn al-Asi. It quickly spread west from Alexandria in North Africa, the Maghreb, reducing the Christians to pockets in Egypt, Nubia, and Ethiopia. Islam came to root along the East African coast sometime in the 8th century, as part of a continuing dialogue between the people on the East Coast and traders from the Persian Gulf and Oman. Like early Christianity, Islam was monotheistic, that is, Muslims worship only one God. Islam was a modernizing influence, imposing a consistent order among different societies, strengthening powers of government and breaking down ethnic loyalties. Unlike Christianity, Islam tolerated traditional values, allowing a man to have more than one wife. For many, this made the conversion to Islam easier and less upsetting than conversion to Christianity. In the early centuries of its existence, Islam in Africa had a dynamic and turbulent history, with reforming movements and dynasties clashing and succeeding each other. Gaining power depended on securing trade routes into gold-producing areas in sub-Saharan Africa. Islamic rulers expanded north as well as south. In the last quarter of the 11th century, Islam dominated the Mediterranean world. In the 14th century, the Black Death came from Europe and seriously undermined the social and economic life of North Africa, or the Maghreb, as it is known. However, Islam remained the dominant religion. From the 16th to the 19th century, much of the Maghreb was under Ottoman rule. By the 1880s, Islam had taken root in 1/3 of the continent. All dates are given according to the Western calendar but can be converted online. Islam in West Africa. Africa was the first continent that Islam spread into out of Arabia in the early 7th century. Almost 1/3 of the world's Muslim population resides today in the continent. It was estimated in 2002 that Muslims constitute 45% of the population of Africa. Islam has a large presence in North Africa, West Africa, the Horn of Africa, the Southeast and among the minority but significant immigrant populations in South Africa. The first West Africans to be converted were the inhabitants of the Sahara, the Berbers, and it is generally agreed that by the second half of the 10th century, the Sahara had become Dar al-Islam, that is the country of Islam. In this chapter, we shall look at the spread of Islam in West Africa as well as the effects of Islam. We shall also find out the activities of the Almoravids. The spread of Islam in West Africa. After the Berbers' Islamization, the religion spread into western Sudan from the closing decades of the 10th century. First, Islam spread into the regions west of the Niger Bend, Senegambia, Mali, then into the Chad region and finally into Hausaland. According to some Arabic sources, the first black ruler to embrace Islam was the King of Gao, who had done so by 1009. The first king of Mali to become a Muslim was Barmandana, who was reigning by the middle of the 11th century. The kings of Ghana, on the other hand, did not embrace Islam until about the beginning of the 12th century, after the Almoravid invasions. In the Chad region, it appears from the Arabic sources that Jilmi, who became the king of Kanem in 1086, was the first Muslim king. Islam was first introduced into Hausaland from either Kanem or Air in the 12th or 13th centuries, but it did not really take root there until during the second half of the 14th century. Reason for the spread of Islam in West Africa. The following are the reasons for the spread of Islam in West Africa. By the end of the 15th century, Islam had spread southwards to the fringes of the forest belt. The nature of Islam. The nature of Islam as a religion accepting polygamy to some extent, its tolerance of traditional African religions, its simplicity of doctrine and mode of worship helped propagators to make converts in Africa. These factors also made Islam easily adaptable to the African communities with which it came in contact. Again, the Islamization of Africa was paralleled by the Africanization of Islam. The making and sale of charms and amulets, which were believed to offer protection against evil forces and generally ensure success in life, were important in winning over converts. Trade. Another major reason that led to the rapid spread of Islam in West Africa was the trans-Saharan trade network. From the 7th century onwards, Muslim traders from the Maghreb and the Sahara started settling first in some of the market centers in the Sahel and then in the savanna areas. Al-Bakri, a renowned Arabic scholar and merchant, wrote in 1067, that the capital of ancient Ghana was already divided into two parts, about 6 miles apart, the Muslim traders' part which had as many as 12 mosques and the king's part had one mosque for the use of the king's Muslim visitors. It was these resident Muslim traders who converted the rulers and the principal local townspeople to Islam. Intermarriage. Islam also spread on to West Africa through intermarriages. The Muslim merchants from North Africa came down, settled and married the African women who became Muslims, including their children. Scholars. The early Muslim missionaries opened Islamic schools and colleges. The products of these schools and colleges also did well by spreading religion. They worked with the rulers as advisors, counselors, etc. For instance, Ibn Yasin established a Zanawar college and founded the Almoravid movement, which contributed considerably to the spread of Islam in the Sahara and Western Sudan. Also, one of the greatest clerics and missionaries of Western Sudan was Al-Hajj Suwair. The Saniki scholar founded the important Zawiga at Icke, Bambik, which attracted students from all over Western Sudan during the first half of the 13th century. The scholarship was indeed also attractive to rulers in West Africa, because the widespread use of the Arabic script made administering their kingdoms easier, and tax revenues easier to accrue. Thus, Timbuktu became known for its famous Jingnaraber Mosque and prestigious Sankore University, both of which were established in the early 1300s under the reign of the Mali Empire, most famous ruler Mansa Musa. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.